Darkness took me, and I strayed out of thought and time. The stars wheeled overhead, and every day was as long as a life age of the earth. But it was not the end. I felt life in me again. I've been sent back until my task is done.
We are Josh and Bill the White, and we have come back to you now at the turn of the tide.
Oh, that was so slick.
Yes, it's been a while, folks. We had life things, and it's been sort of not a complete lack of stuff for us to cover, but Bill and I took the time to, well, one, take care of our stuff, and then, well, we decided we're going to change things up moving forward. And so the podcast is going to be a lot different now.
Yeah. No more of this very staccato delivery, very scripted. This is the new stuff that came out. This is what I built. This is what No, we're just going to sort of let it flow.
Yeah, we're going to have more overarching topics and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we are going to be reviewing, oh, that's right, today's show, Harbinger's The Mad King Rises. We're not going to really be diving into book reviews like we have in the past.
Yeah.
We're more going to sort of freeform and riff on the things that interested us about either the book itself or something that came from the book, like a really cool idea, like design-wise or hobby-wise. We've got some pretty big meta topics that we'll be, talking about moving forward.
Yeah.
And, just having some of the same old fun. So don't expect us to be like, and now for New Dawn, and News at 11, and in battle. Yeah. You're not going to hear those words anymore.
And mostly because I think those areas have kind of lost their flavor as we delve into different games. And, I think one of the major changes you're going to see is we're not just going to slavishly limit ourselves to AOS. Mm-hmm. There are other good games out there that are different, not better, not worse, just different. And they're worth a look, and they're worth talking about because they're fun.
Yeah.
And so let me launch into my War Machine and Hordes. Just got no way.
This episode of the podcast brought to you by
Dead Game. No. Oh, you're a jerk. Okay. No, it's just, we just had to change things up a little bit. And, like Josh said, we had, at the same time that there was a little bit of lull in AOS activity, we had stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I know I had foot surgery, which, oh my God, just having my toenail removed. Oh God. I would rather have been shot again than go through that. Oh my, it was over a month ago and I'm still not 100% on that foot. It's just nuts. Of course I am almost 60. So there's something there, but hey, today's the International Day of Awesomeness. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
You're awesome.
You're awesome too.
All right. And you guys listening, you're totally awesome.
So one of the things that Bill didn't tell you, though, about his foot surgery is that they actually had to cut off the foot, and they put on the foot of a serial killer. And so part of what Bill's been going through is trying to deny himself his urges to, well, continue the work of his foot's former owner.
Let's keep it up. Okay. No. No.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been just swamped with work.
I can't believe what you're going through over there at your office, man. God.
Yeah, we were down 4 attorneys. Then my boss is taking some extended leave. So we're down 5 attorneys. Me and one other attorney are the only ones who can really handle like the really high-end serious violent offenses.
Mm-hmm.
There are others we just kind of have to like hope that they don't mess them up.
Holy crap.
So it's one of those things where I like get to work at 7 a.m. and get home by 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I have an hour commute, so that does affect it too. But it's been something else, and I have had zero time to really get back into hobby. But I think I've hit this small lull for 2 weeks where I'm really going to start getting into some stuff. Well, I can't get into my Conquest Army I want to do for this year because it's not out yet. But
give it time.
April 26th can't come quickly enough. But then I'll probably work on some AOS stuff, see what I can finish up on my Old Dominion, that kind of stuff. I'll talk more about that later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been a wild ride, and we had to retreat to move forward.
Yeah.
For some corporate speak for you all. Bill is, a black belt in Six Sigma, in case you're wondering.
God, please. Just call me Mr. Lean Logistics. Okay. Don't you ever. But speaking of lean logistics, we're going to talk about this a lot in After Dark, or perhaps with more colorful metaphors. But I do want to really call out some things that happened while we were gone. The one that springs to mind most quickly is the absolute gaggle that was the release of the last book of the Horus Heresy series.
Oh, yeah.
I am just absolutely stunned by how badly they handled that. And then in the aftermath, how badly they handled the restock of it. And in case you don't know, the book 3 of The End of the Death and the Death came out, the collector's edition came out. And of course, GW and their awesome website was not prepared. They were allowing everywhere in the world to purchase unlimited quantities, except the United States and UK. And yet still people were able to put 25 of them in their cart and pay for it, knowing full well that they would literally make bank on that.
Oh yeah.
$100 book, and you're going to turn it for 500 minimum, even on eBay.
Oh yeah.
Let alone the other traders and what have you.
Right.
So then after that debacle happens, that Wednesday, they go through and they cancel any order that's going, second order or more, that's going to the same place. And they take all those copies and put them back up for sale. All, unless you are constantly like clicking on the website, you don't know this is happening. So you're just angry from Saturday and you're moving about your week. You're doing other things. So you don't know this opportunity to get the book came up. And so many people ordered it that Wednesday, got a successful order, and then turned around 20 minutes later and got a cancellation of their order notice. And by that time, you jump in the queue and, there's nothing left.
No.
So incredibly badly handled. They have to understand that they're not capable of doing these kinds of things with the current web. I don't want to call it a site because it doesn't qualify. For their current presence, it's just not. It's not up to the task.
I mean, it's really rough when you disappoint people twice.
Yeah.
Right? Anger people twice. Because guaranteed those who lost out on the initial Saturday and then didn't know that they could reorder that Wednesday, just as bad as trying to go to reorder on that Wednesday and not getting it again.
Yeah.
It's just, why was this handled so poorly? Why was there lack of communication? How could they have done better about this?
Yeah, it's just they have to take a firm, hard look at what that website is and does and evaluate whether or not. I know that it does what it's supposed to do. It makes them money. You order your stuff, you get your stuff, they get their money. It is working from that perspective. However, is it setting you up for success in the future? No. And if you don't care about that, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. But I do believe they care because that Wednesday thing wouldn't have happened if they didn't care. Hey, the books were sold.
Yeah.
They had the money coming in. It wasn't a mercenary thing.
Yeah.
They did this to help the community and to try to beat down the scalpers. But, I hate to say this, but Discourse Minis had a pretty good breakdown of why and where and what really was the root of the problem. And, okay, she was right. I'm not going to, I know I always diss on her, but when she's right, she's generally right.
I think you need to go wash your mouth out, Bill.
Yeah. I'm now at Patreon Discourse. So these are big changes for me. But enough about the bad stuff. How about the good stuff? Did you see the Gnome Blood Bowl team?
I didn't yet.
Oh my God, you got to go look at the Gnome Blood Bowl team. I mean, you want to talk about grim happy? It's no more grim dark, buddy. These are just, when they lead with a goose on the preview, yeah, you know something's going down. So if you are into Blood Bowl and you want a hilarious team, that Gnome Blood Bowl team is off the hook.
Okay, so I just pulled it up.
Okay.
And everyone who is interested to know, they all have beards.
Yeah. Gnomes. You know.
Yeah. You get 2 foxes, one of which has a ball
In his mouth.
in his mouth. You've got a goose that's going on the attack.
Oh, God.
And a freaking honey badger.
Yes.
So I just had to pull it up because I hadn't seen it yet, and this is absolutely brilliant.
It is.
This is the Glim Duaro groundhogs.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's
It almost is going to make me want to get into that Blood Bowl league that's starting up. But
right.
it's just, oh my gosh, so funny. And, you know, Luis did a great video the other day about what's happening to the Grimdark. What's
Right.
with all these, like, the crab and the, you know, sassy Nurgling and all that stuff. And obviously, you know, let's call it what it is. When these models come out and they generate that firestorm of buzz, I mean, how many of that warband for Underworlds do you think sold for people that just wanted the crab? They don't play the game. They don't play Warcry. They don't play Underworlds, but they had to have the crab with a knife.
Oh no, I'm sure they ratchet up sales. I mean, the amount of people who play Underworlds isn't terribly vast. It's a decent size, but I'm sure that's sold like hotcakes. Same thing with the monkey with the knife and the parrot.
All
right?
of those little one-off crazy, and of course, you know, the sassy Nurgling was like, I mean, that was a top internet meme for a week or two.
Oh yeah,
And that's saying something. That's the internet. That's the world.
yeah. And I think these gnomes are prime for being painted like Smurfs.
Oh my God. I don't know how many we're going to see, but there is going to be the Smurfette, you know, it's going to be everywhere.
Oh yeah, someone will 3D print Smurfettes for
Christ, I'm cheerleaders.
for cheerleaders. Yeah.
I'm half tempted to do that, but I just love that. I think I kind of want to get it, and I want to do the Star Trek Garden Gnome theme.
Oh my God, yes.
Have the yellows, the blues, the reds.
Yeah.
You know they're gonna die.
Oh yeah.
Because we have the Star Trek gnomes out front, you know, and they're carrying, you know, it's the 2 yellow guys carrying the dead red guy. It's hilarious, but yeah, I think that was a huge knock out of the park in the Blood Bowl world.
And Blood Bowl's one of those games you can visit for that goofy, right?
Yes.
I mean, you watch the like players you were constantly talking about. It's like super intense, you know, because I mean they're like fantasy football, like leagues. So those guys are always a little over the top. But like the modeling has always been fun and funny, and like the Blood Bowl games themselves, like if you play them on like PlayStation or something like that, are just hilarious.
It's the computer Blood Bowl games have always been so good, and you know, I have a different. I think the hardest core Blood Bowl player out there is still a lot easier to get along with than some regular 3-2 40K people.
Oh yeah.
Know? I mean, it's competitive, but you know, I know the one guy at the store was talking about the guy that got table flipped at the other store because he committed a foul in the 4th quarter and the guy just lost his mind. And literally flipped the table. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, there are those kinds, but I still, Blood Bowl, just play it for fun. It's good stuff.
It's just a fun game. And I mean, I think you're right that most Blood Bowl players, like, I mean, they are like fantasy football players. They're pretty like, yeah, man, my guy's stats, you know, as you're going through a league and stuff like that. But again, you know, they're not trying to like rules lure you across the table. Like, you know, you're going up against a guy who got the best Necron list, but he's lost twice.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to get that one win out of you.
Yeah.
And yeah. No, you're going to have a lot more fun with Blood Bowl. And I'm going to be frank with Blood Bowl, model however you want. Like, you don't really have height issues in Blood Bowl, and people love seeing specialized teams and all
Oh my
that.
God, yeah. And the number of crazy fun teams that you see on the Reddit and all the other places, it's just mind-boggling how
Yeah.
creative people can get and just having fun with it and not caring. The people that play Hobbits in Blood Bowl are, they know what their fate is.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, it's such a fun game. Another great big win was the new Daughters of Cain models.
Oh,
Oh
man, the crone.
I gotta say that between the crone giving you the option to not take Marathi, and yeah, I know, perish the thought, and the Sylvaneth box coming out with an alternative build for Sylvaneth, I'm liking the direction. I'm really digging that scope change is very welcome and I hope it's a harbinger of what's coming in for it.
Oh,
See what I did there? Okay. Anyway, wow, that was.
Well, I mean, one thing too with because of what that was a pre-order yesterday, right? Is
Yeah.
also Callus and Toll, the
Yeah.
ever-present narrators, who are just literally the guys from the Muppets up in the
Yeah, the old guy.
the old guys just like commenting on everything, but now they actually like show up to do stuff.
Yeah.
Their models look great.
And they are wizard killers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really like the old lady with the cat from their warband. I saw that and I was like, oh God, yes, please.
Yes. Yeah. That's another, model that's where's the grimdark in that cat?
Yeah.
Come on.
It's got oh my goodness, Lady and the Tramp, twin Siamese cat vibes going on. Like you look at it and you're like, that thing's just. It's going to harass someone, and it's just doing it because it has ill will towards anything alive.
Yes. And I love simple goals like that. Simple desires, simple truths. Oh, gosh.
And that harkens back to what we were talking about with the crab.
Yeah.
Right? Like the cat stands out, in out of all of this. So now you have a situation where you just keep feeding into that.
Yep.
I mean, the stories are like when read, super dark, but
Sure.
then you have a kitty or a crab.
Yeah. To just sort of lighten the mood a tad bit.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's, Callus and Toll, long, I don't want to say overdue in AOS, because I really didn't think they were ever going to bring them back, but still a very welcome addition.
Oh, yeah.
And I like, how they're dredging up some of those old world things and giving them a fresh coat of paint and kind of a new focus.
Yeah.
That sort of molds a little bit better into the AOS mentality, obviously. And just, good on them for doing stuff like that. Speaking of old world, bam. While we were gone, the old world dropped. And when I say dropped, I mean, holy hand grenades did that fly off the shelves.
Yep.
And I think it's sold out on the website. I'm not sure. But I know there's in this town in Albuquerque, I think there's only a couple of copies over at Etten to be had. Everybody else is sold out.
Really?
Yeah. So that went over pretty darn well. And I know the books went crazy. I tried to get the book the day of the release. I tried to get the book for the vampire counts. And not happening. So
nope.
I did pick up one of each of the boxes. Why? I do not know. I am not going to play that game. I don't know why I bought them. I am stupid.
No.
Yes.
No, your heart had a desire, and you had to fulfill that desire, right?
I also have this feeling that at some point in the future, somebody in the local community is going to be like, damn it, I wish I had that Tomb King. Oh, man. And I'm like, gotcha, bro. So.
I gotcha. At a 50% markup.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. No, my listing is on eBay, pal. You're paying.
Yeah.
You can pick up locally, but kidding.
Then you meet under cover of night under a single lamp post. Yeah. You open up the back of a dark colored van and there's just the single box sitting there
with a light on it. The little Pixar light. Oh yeah. So I don't know. Did you have any interest at all in Old World?
I didn't read too much into the rules or anything. My first rank and flank was Conquest. I've never really played those kinds of games. And as I've been playing Conquest, I think it's pretty interesting. But watching some of the battle reports that I have, right, it feels like I don't have sort of the mental capacity to like upload another game.
Yeah.
Right. It's something I'd be interested if, if someone's like, here, I've got the models, just try it out with me. I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not something I would make an army for.
Right.
It's more something if someone had another army, I'd play with them. That's kind of my thought on it.
I think it's a really cool, it's a neat idea that GW did it. I think they tested the waters. They found out that the waters are pretty deep.
Yeah.
And we might see maybe an occasional update to that range. Who knows? I'm all for it. The books they released let you play with almost all of the stuff you had from before.
Yep.
If you were well established in that, like Seth has all this stuff. And he was so jazzed that day to pick it all up. And he was so excited, so hyped to get back into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, more power to him. I love it.
I agree. I do agree.
I
Any
love
way
it.
to find some enjoyment in the hobby.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is finding what you like and going into it. Also in the, holy gosh, did they release something cool? Legions Imperialis dropped while we were away. And yes, I have bit hard into Imperialis.
Yeah, I can see.
I just love the game. It's reasonably simple. And it really is. It's a 20-minute teach, and then you're playing. And occasionally looking up a special rule because it's hard to memorize them right off the bat. But the complexity of the game comes in the alternating activations and the setting of the orders before you even know who's going first.
Yeah.
So, and literally having the ability to either change your order or having orders forced on you is just so much. It leads to craziness. I've played 4 or 5 games and not one of them have been, hey, look, turn 2, I win. Yay. And stuff just dies in that game. Just dies. It is.
Yeah.
It's 30K. It is. They are representing the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
It's, you just throw units into the meat grinder and hope that you threw more than the other guy.
Do you like it more than Horus Heresy proper?
Yes, by far.
Okay.
Because Horus Heresy proper is just another flavor of 40K. It's grimdark. It's the old edition. So this is a completely fresh look at, and again, method to their madness. Aeronautica Imperialis comes out, all the stuff gets released, boom, support for the game drops. Adeptus Titanicus comes out. Here's all the cool stuff. It happens to be the same scale. Don't read into that. And support drops. And then Legions Imperialis comes out to say, you remember all that stuff that you bought and painted because you thought it was so much fun? Guess what? It all works now. And it all works together. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. And the idea that they set it in 30K, originally I was all kinds of upset that it wasn't going to be a 40K game so we could have Eldar and Orcs and all that stuff. But from a production standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint, just having the Space Marines still gives you 18 options of factions as well as Solar Auxilia. So it's a pretty broad range of things that you can do. And it's brilliant the way it ties all the games together. Everything you have now works. Nothing was wasted.
Yeah.
And the game just plays. It's just great fun.
With Adeptus Titanicus, remember way back when we went to the new Hobbyist Expo out in Grapevine? I think it was, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Ages have passed since then.
An age of man.
We're now entering the 4th age. But as far as it goes, the playing Adeptus Titanicus was a very similar thing. It was super easy to learn.
Yeah.
Very inviting. It's cool, like the scale of the models. Same thing with Aeronautica Imperialis, right? Fun game. Models are cool. The only thing that ever got me is I didn't like the price point on Adeptus Titanicus, considering no one was playing it.
Right.
But now seeing all of it coalesce into probably the better 30K experience, particularly if you're a big fan of like the lore and such. And it also reminds me of like Apocalypse. What was it, like a few years back?
Yeah.
When they did the reboot on Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because that's similar, right?
Very.
Where it's like you set all your orders and then alternating activations, and just so does damage resolved at the end, just like Apocalypse, or does it resolve as you fire?
No, it's going to resolve as you fire.
Okay.
So.
And that I think that makes it a little bit more interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's not like the massive scale you had there where it's like, all right, let's see how many hits got, and then, okay, we're removing parts of this unit, parts of that unit, you know? But now I see how that has a different layer of strategy, right? Hoping that you, I don't know, win sort of the activation war part of it.
It's, it's as an alternating activation game, the number of activations is important. And it can be a crazy killer thing. Before I even picked up the game, I had already said what factions I was going to play.
Yeah.
And it just turns out that for the first time ever in a GW game, the two factions I picked are the two strongest. Raven Guard they have to be fixed. There has to be a change, I think, to their overall rule. Their basic rule for the faction is that they get to, if you have a pure infantry detachment, they get to infiltrate pregame. And then if you have vehicle detachments, they get to do scouting moves.
Oh my God.
So quite literally, the Raven Guard player can be halfway across the board capping objectives before the game even starts. And it's very powerful, very strong. I would like to see them come back and say one detachment can forward deploy, one detachment can get a scout move, and then it's still a huge advantage.
Yeah.
But it's no longer game breaking, although it leads to some really fun games where the other guy has to come and take your toys away.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's debilitating. It doesn't break the game, but it's very, very strong, and it can be off-putting for a new player. So to just find out you're losing in turn one, oh, that's no fun.
I mean, who would have thought that, free movement or placement up board in a objective style game would be so powerful?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. But then I don't have 30 years of design, engineering, and what have you behind me. So, but and then of course, I'm also doing salamanders. Yes, I'm an idiot, but they have the ability. Their special rule is they kind of ignore morale for most intents and purposes. They, when they lose a fight, they don't take a morale check.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when they finish up a close combat, they don't worry about morale. And then when they do have to do morale, they roll 3d6 and keep the best ones. So, yeah, they're gonna stick around a while. So unfortunately, like the White Scars special ability is literally a player to be named later. It's like the models that are gonna let you do your special ability aren't out yet. But when they come out, you're going to be cool.
What is their special rule?
They get a bonus for their fast movers.
Oh.
And since those aren't quite out yet, it's kind of yeah. But like Sons of Horus, they get this deal that if you're within 6 inches, they can plus up. It's some of them they're very tame. Others are like mind-bogglingly good. So there has to be some balancing done in that area, but I'm not worried. They will do that. Just the basic core of the game is phenomenally good. So
well, I imagine that one way they can also balance that too is, instead of like fundamentally changing the armies, is map rules.
Yeah.
Map rules are going to change everything.
Sure. And depending on, what theater you want to do, like this first book that came out, The Great Slaughter, it's a less well-known campaign. And I believe they started with that just because they know that the minute they put out something like Istvan or the Siege of Terra, people are going to be nutty about, it's going to be like trying to release a Primarch. No matter what you do, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody is going to say you're wrong. So, but I can't wait for Istvan. Oh, God, give me that now.
Well, I mean, now that they've completed the Horus Heresy, everything's written down now, right?
Yes.
Everything's released. Everyone knows the story, right? As long as they hold true to the spirit of those books,
yeah,
right? Like anyone who comes out and tries to neckbeard is Everyone's gonna be like, bro, no, I've read the book. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, we're fine here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
plus you can use this 30K, all of this stuff can be used in the scouring portion too, the after the Siege of Terra. So, I mean, there's just tons. And in fact, Great Slaughter is after the Siege of Terra. It's, let's go start scouring chaos from the Imperium. That'll be great fun. Trust me.
I think I would definitely get involved in a game if it was the Siege of Terra, like a multi-day game, where you have to, that would be cool. That would be cool, Bill.
When there are some more units out, like, right now we're waiting on drop pods and a few other things, but when it gets a little bit more fleshed out, I cannot wait to see the bat reps that are going to be done on that level, either Istvan or, I just cannot wait for Istvan, where you deploy on the same side of the table. You're the Raven Guard guy and you're deploying on the same side of the table with the World Eaters and with, and you're just like, okay, guys, let's march forward and take this. Hey, what are they shooting at me for?
Right.
There's going to be so many opportunities for fun games. Oh, it's going to be nuts.
Feels like it's going to be one of those battles, where like if you're playing it on a game or something like that, like an actual, like on your phone or, on your computer or something, you just like keep restarting the fight, just hoping that you're like, I'm going to get that one.
Yes.
That one thing's going to save me. And I'm going to be able to actually win, But like where a mission, like winning is getting away, right? Winning is not killing your opponent. Winning is you have a unit get off the board.
I think honestly in the Istvan scenario, in the very first scenario, I think the win for the Loyalists is going to be you don't get wiped by turn 4. If you can survive to turn 5 or 6, that's more of a win for you.
Yeah.
But you're going to get wiped.
Yeah.
So face that and understand it. And just, if you haven't read the lore, read it. It's a short section of a book, and it's eye-opening about how brutal it was and how much they did not expect that. And literally huge chunks of the Raven Guard were wiped out completely, to the point to where it almost ceased being a legion.
Yeah. Same with Iron Hands, right?
Yeah. I mean, Salamander's Iron Hands. It was brutally devastating. And not only that, but it's the shock of, that initial phase of a civil war where you don't expect the guy that you just had dinner with to come be shooting at you the next morning. But that's the way it was. So fun times. I'm a huge proponent of Legions Imperialis. Love it.
Yeah, I'd be excited to see that expand a lot more.
Yeah, me too. I was kind of hoping that in that first, in the Great Slaughter release, they were going to do the drop pods, but they didn't. So I have resorted to other means for getting drop pods, because the rules are there for drop pods.
Yeah.
But not the models. So, yes, we're going to take care of that during the week not that I would 3D print anything, but yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there to represent the thing that they gave you for the rules, right? And I mean, as far as I understand, presently, there are no like GW official Legions Imperialis tournaments going on.
Yeah, they set, I think they have.
Locally?
Not locally, no.
Okay.
I believe, but Adepticon, I believe they're having the first Legions Imperialis organized event.
Yeah.
I don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. It might be the one that's coming up at Warhammer World. But yeah, they're starting to kick that series off. So,
I mean, they're touching on it right now, but like where you're going to play.
No,
is it going to matter?
Not even a little bit.
No,
not even a little bit. So, because I'm printing out some for other people too. So you can't call me bad if you're using them. Yeah.
Yep.
So as far as that goes, I have painted up one box of the infantry. So that's like, I don't know, 20, 30 stands. I have the Thunderhawk built. The Storm Eagles are built. I have 10 rhinos built, 11 rhinos, because there was the free store giveaway rhino. So 11 rhinos, 4 Kratos, all the tanks that came in the box, the Predators, and all that stuff is built, and they're all primed. I have to get, painting these things is not what I would call a chore.
No.
They're simple. So gotta finish that. But I've been playing with them. They're fine. You know, it's Raven Guard, so black is all right. It's good. Just coat them black. But you know, I played four games so far. We played a 500-point game, a 1,000-point game, and then two 1,500-point games. And oh god, just tons of fun. Swingy games. Oh man, and the way, you know, objective control works, it's just so much fun in that game. And you know, the Solar Auxilia gives every bit as good as in fact, they're by and large, their tanks are better than the Space Marine tanks.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah. And man for man, infantry wise, they stand up. These are Solar Auxilia. These are not, you know, Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
You have to understand these are the best of the best of the best. So
with honors.
Yeah. So 2-2 so far. Can't complain. It's been a lot of fun playing those games. And you know, the first one, the 500-point game, took like 5 hours as we looked up every single roll. But then after that, it's been, you know, the games have been running pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you still have to look up some of the weapon special rules now and then because I forget. And one notable issue with the cards that came out with the game is they show you the line for the weapons, but what they don't show you is the loadout that's on the vehicle. So, for instance, you know, on the Kratos, it'll show you the sponson mounted las cannon. And that's it. It doesn't tell you that there's two of them.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a pretty simple thing to understand that it's got two sides. So there's probably two of those. Yeah. But still, for the newer people that are just getting into it, they were like, there was a couple of complaints going, oh, you mean I cost 50% of my shots the entire game because I thought the card had everything on it? No, it doesn't. You have to, you know. So I just told people to just put a little note on your card, get a Sharpie, and put 2 times in front of it, 2X in front of las cannon, the sponson stuff, and then you'll remember. But literally in a week, you'll never ever forget that again. So
I don't think you'll forget after the first game.
No, it's just looking at the model should tell you that there's 2 of them. Look, one on either side. But yeah. Oh, one thing I do have to call out, and I wanted to call out Hardcore because it's so cool. Because I'm painting Raven Guard, and I wanted to get some equivalent colors for the Horus Heresy era paint schemes.
Yeah.
I ended up finding this app for my phone, and it's called Paint Rack.
Paint Rack.
Paint Rack. Yeah. And if you don't have it, it's flippin' amazing.
I'm going to pull this up right now while we're talking.
Yep. You can sit there and it will give you, like, say you have a Citadel formula and you really like the way that box art is and it says use these paints. You can hit that paint in the app and it tells you what the equivalent color in all the other paint ranges is. So if you're using strictly Army Painter or P3 or Pro Acryl, 2 thin coats, whatever it is you're using, it will tell you what that color is in that other range.
I'm downloading it right now.
Oh, cool. It's super, super handy. And it's actually quite cheap. I think it's like $5 for the whole shebang. And then you tell it what ranges. I mean, it's got a ton of paint ranges in there. And, you know, you just uncheck the ones you don't pay any attention to or you don't have access to locally. And it'll just tell you, you know, like, okay, I'm going to go to Citadel. I'm going to hit Averland Sunset. And then I'm going to go to the equivalencies. But, I mean, it's also got, that's not the only thing that it does. Yeah, there it is. It's in color tools. So, yeah, using Storm Vermin Fur. And it sits here and it tells you that in Pro Acryl, it is.
Yeah, just playing with this is really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a very.
And it was $4.99 for a one-time unlock.
Yeah.
It does also have a barcode scanner, too, so you can scan the paints.
You can scan in your paints and figure out what's what. I go to Bugman's Glow, and I want to know what that is in Pro Acryl. So I click on that. Oh, it's Dark Flesh, MPA 068. Boom. There you go. And then what I really like is it has this whole... It gives you not just a color wheel, but you can pick a color and then it'll tell you what is complementary, what is a triad, what the triad's going to be, what would be the highlight, what would be the darker shade. So it's a very, very handy program to have on your iPhone or Android device.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's super cool. And like you said, it's $5 for the whole shebang. So cool.
This podcast brought to you by
Brought to you by Payrack. Yup.
Rack your paints and then paint your rack.
God. Okay, so Conquest. We've been dancing around it a little bit. New rules changes came out for Conquest
Oh God, yes.
last Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
It was the 19th.
19th. Was it that far
February 19th was when
okay.
they did the full update to the core rules.
back? Okay. Oh, such beautiful, fun changes. And like you said earlier, they're actually very small in impact, but they have a very large scope. Small in scope, large in impact.
Yeah, they're elegant. They're elegant changes. One of the things I thought was super impactful was the change to dead shots. Like always counting as taking aim for your archers. Frees up an action, and as we all know, Conquest being action economy,
Yes.
right? That is super potent.
Very.
So lots of increase in stonks on dead shots, but simple things that needed to be clarified, even though they didn't really need to be clarified. But chariots work like cavalry.
Yeah. And just super. Wherever you see cavalry, add and chariot.
Yeah.
Okay.
The major change to leaders no longer having a size. It's just what kind of unit they can attach to.
Yep.
So you're not going to see medium infantry characters anymore. It's just infantry, right?
Well, it matters a lot because especially in the Nords, I have a lot of medium leaders that would join light units, making that a scoring unit.
Correct.
Which is a feel bad for the other guy.
Yeah.
Because you either have to try to duel that guy and get rid of him, or you're just basically going to always be contested on an objective. And that it hurts when you spent effort to try to get an objective and then one dude strolls up and says, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So now if you join a light unit, you're light.
Yeah, I really, really like it.
Yep.
It changes just the full time, like you said. You have some who were the haves and many that were the have-nots when it came to that particular little shtick that they could do.
Yep.
I think that was an amazing change. I think it really leveled the playing field in a way that I didn't even think of. Right?
Yeah.
It was just I just sort of took for granted that you're going to have some factions that can do that. Lo and behold, right? That when you take that away, all of a sudden it's one of those changes where you go like, oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems like an easy change. Then like, yeah, I get it.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, it doesn't actually it does somewhat change some armies in terms of like what's the first unit you're putting on the board.
Sure.
Right. But it didn't change it in such a way that you're like, well, now my army's trash.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't earth shattering.
No.
It was the right change.
Yeah. It was very well thought out, well planned. And it's one of those things where I didn't know we needed that until we had it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, that's good. Same thing with the activation of leaders and their attached units. That is a brilliant rule that is so simple.
Yep.
And yet changes the course of gameplay dramatically, especially for the spell casting characters. Used to be that the female, the Volva, who is the shaman for the Valkyries and is a viable character in and of her own self, she would always have to play her card, try to get the spell off onto the Valkyries. Then it would be your activation. You would shoot the Valkyries off the board, and that activation had just become meaningless.
Yep.
Now, the way they've changed the rules is if you prefer, it's a may, not a must. If you put the character card and then immediately beneath it in your activation order is the unit that it's attached to, you can activate the character, do its one action, and then immediately activate the unit that it belongs to.
Yeah.
So now the buff spells that you have or the glow up spells that you have for your units are actually impactful. And they work as advertised on the tin. I can't tell you how many times that I had the Valkyries unit, I would go first with them. I would have her come out, her card would come out. I would put one of the good buffs onto them so that they could get a charge off. and then the next activation would be whoever it was they were facing, and they would just shoot them off the table.
Yep.
Because, you know, Nords are notoriously glass cannons.
Yeah.
And they have, you know, their highest defense is a 2.
Yeah.
So, well, no, one of the characters has a 3. So they're meaningless as far as you aim a good volley at them, and to be in charge range, they're going to be in full volley range.
Yep.
They're going to get shot off the table, or at least broken.
Mm-hmm.
So now they waste an activation to rally, and now all they can do is charge, and they don't have impact hits. So then you just chew them up in your melee phase. So it was a feel bads for that particular setup. And I know that happened across several different factions. It wasn't just the Nords that were affected by that. So again, just a brilliant change. And you were not required to play it that way. If I turn her card over, and I just want to cast my defensive spell, and then I don't care if the Valkyries don't go for the next, 6 cards. Okay, I don't have to have them next underneath her.
Yep.
And even if they are, I don't have to activate them. I have the choice. So brilliant change. Brilliant, wonderful change.
And again, one of the changes, like you said, you didn't know you needed it until it happened.
Right.
Because it was just sort of built into the game, like, this is how this works, right? That I do need to try and set this up strategically so I'm positioned just right. So when I activate this, they're not going to get shot off the board, so I need to have another unit positioned in such a way, right? And so the mind just works that way. But then it happens, you're like, oh my God.
Totally cool.
But they gave you choice,
yeah,
right? Which one of the things they did, which I kind of thought was sort of like a spirit of the game, but they just put it in multiple places, was the ability to pass.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, thank you, God.
Right.
Oh.
Now you're like not forced to take actions,
yes.
But it literally wasn't a rule.
No.
You couldn't pass before. You had to use your actions.
It was literally understood that, okay, I flipped this card. The situation has changed since I built this deck. I now want them to do nothing. So literally I would have to say, I am moving 0 distance.
Yep.
Okay. What are you doing for your second action? I am moving 0 distance. Okay. However, you still count as moving. You still get in all the penalties and potentially whatever they might be, depending on the enemy spell cast. But now having the ability to say, yep, nope, we're not doing anything. You can't pick on me for not doing nothing either.
Yep.
So I love it. Love it.
And it's funny, sort of the sort of passive aggressive wording of it too. I reread it this morning. It says, if someone is unable or unwilling to act. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's great. I mean, you still have flipped the card. You have lost the activation if you're passing. But there are a lot of times that you did not want to have done a 0 distance move and have those guys count as moving. What if they're in dangerous terrain and you just literally want them to stay there and cap that objective?
Yeah.
But if they say, we're doing a 0-inch move, you incur the penalties and you have to roll for casualties.
Yeah.
So now you can just pass. I score that point.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I am losing that unit in terms of strategic value. However, tactically, it just made a lot of sense to do that.
Now, there are some rules clarifications, I thought, that I think were good with scoring objectives.
Oh, yeah.
So even though light units cannot score objectives, their stands still count towards total number of stands when determining control of the objective.
Right.
So as long as you have a medium and your opponent has a medium, if you've got 3 lights in range and they don't,
right,
then you win in terms of number of stands.
Yeah.
But they very clearly stated like light infantry are 0 stands for scoring points. Medium and heavies are 1 point. Monsters are 3.
Yeah.
Right? Easy to understand. Simple rules change. And one thing I was going to ask you, because I couldn't remember when it came to Aura of Death. In the Aura of Death text, it now states that Aura of Death triggers at the beginning, right, of the draw step, right?
Yes.
But prior to resolving any abilities on the draw, right?
Yep.
And what it said was, if that unit is destroyed, right, broken, whatever, if it is killed, let's say for all intents and purposes, by Aura of Death, you then get to immediately activate the next card.
Right.
And so you get the next unit. I don't remember if it said that originally.
It did not. And that was the feel bad for you killed everyone but one model on one stand, and you still wasted a turn because you had your Aura of Death went, it killed that unit, and you're literally just wasted now.
Yeah.
You have just thrown away an activation. Obviously, you killed a unit, might be victory points and all that stuff, but it hurt you to do that. And it was, when you set up your command stack, chances are that unit was a lot beefier and you really wanted to go at that point.
Yeah.
Then when it came right down to it, oh, this was a wasted activation. Now I'm on the back foot. That's a feels bad.
Yeah.
And you eliminate that totally. And, the wording that was on the wording that was originally out there for Aura of Death was very vague in terms of not just exactly when it happened, but how it sequenced with other draw events that might have been granted to that unit.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it said specifically that it went before their draw event. However, what about the draw event that I put on them? Like, does the Bastion kick in first? Or if it doesn't, then when that activation ends because the unit died, do I now lose Bastion that I just, get either cast a spell or threw an aura at?
Yeah.
So I've just, again, now I've wasted 2 activations. I hate that. So now there's no more of that.
Yeah, you check to see if the unit is going to survive. If it doesn't, you got to go to the next unit and resolve all those draws, right? Resolve the draw effects.
Yeah.
Right. I think that was, again, that one's a little nitty gritty because it has to deal with timing. Anytime you're dealing with timing issues in sequences, it's reminds me of Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah,
You're working with the command, we'd say the stack, right, in Magic, right? But you're working with the sequencing of events to ensure that in this case, it is the most, I think, fair resolution that could occur. I mean, it sucks when you lose a unit to Aura of Death, but now you actually get to still play. You don't just oh, cool, you blanked my entire next activation from the stack, and you're like, cool, well, I have a next card, and
I lost my guy, I lost my activation, I lost everything. Yeah. Now it's just like, okay, I knew that was coming. It hurts, but there was no way around it. And, across the board, just if you are a Conquest player, read all the special abilities. Read all of them because every single one of them had the wording changed. Even simple stuff like take aim was changed.
Yeah.
Take aim lasts until the end of the round. How could that be of any value? How is it of any importance whatsoever? Yes, go figure. They are future proofing so that when you have certain factions who shall remain nameless, can reactivate a unit.
Yeah.
They still have take aim on them. And that makes some of them absolutely brutal because if you use their activation to do it, take aim and a volley, and then you come along and give them another activation, they get 2 volleys with take aim.
Yep. Yeah.
So, you can make Dweghome Crossbowman, I don't say devastating, maybe? Yeah, how about devastating? Sure. Terry has just been brutalizing me with a doubled up unit of those crossbowmen. When I get into them for combat, for melee, I just plow through them. They just cannot stand up to any kind of... But by God, getting into them, oh my Lord, they are brutal.
Yep.
Just brutal.
Well, there's going to be some fun play with... Oh, sorry, getting to Sorcerer Kings. I was going to do that after dark. But they have a lot of Bloodlust in their army, and being able to give Bloodlust to your opponents.
Yeah.
I just read that as like the Archer Killer, You hit him with Bloodlust, and Bloodlust forces you to do is...
ABC.
Yeah, you
always
need to be charging, and you always have to try a charge. If you can't charge, you have to move closer.
Yes, to the nearest enemy unit.
And it gives a very powerful ability, which is the ability to charge when you come on the board.
Oh, yes.
So you have units like the, I can't remember what they're called, the Guilds or something. They're light infantry units for the Sorcerer Kings. They're elemental with Bloodlust and Vanguard. So they come on the board, and they instantly move. They're 6 inches, right? And then they're just going to be trying to charge down your throats.
Yeah.
They have a clash of 1, but
it's
for a light unit, and they're dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I just like waves, just They're there to just get in your face.
Crashing into you. Yeah, it's kind of what I use the Raiders and the Nords for is, of course, they are slightly different. They have impact, but
Yeah.
they are just brilliant for getting up there. And, in the games that I screwed up and put the Bo Chosen in front of the Raiders, I learned very quickly that Bo Chosen die to a stiff wind.
Yes.
And meanwhile, the Raiders come up behind and just kill anything that shot at them.
Yeah.
But, when you make that simple switch and you put the Raiders up first
Yep.
and the Bo Chosen behind them, oh, dear God, is it a 1-2 punch that just hurts? And, you have your Shaman as your Warlord, so you get the 3 moves when you come on the board. You can literally be in contact, or at least in volley range, turn 1, turn 2.
Yeah.
So it's just one thing I will say about Conquest. It's far worse than Games Workshop games if you insulate yourself and just read the army rules for your army, you're like, nobody can stand up to this. This army is instant win.
Yeah.
This combo is simply going to win games. And then, of course, you find out that the other guy has the combo that says, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not even going to get close.
But I've got a combo that's just going to win games. And then someone shows up.
It's crazy because, obviously no two factions play alike. But even within the faction, depending on who you have as your warlord, your supremacy ability completely changes how you play your army.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just so brilliant because, hey, I have a Nord's army and I just want to be beat face today. Okay, the Blooded is the boss and we're just going to go in and crush things.
Yep.
Or actually, you know what? I need to cap objectives for this one. So the Shaman's the boss and I'm getting a free move when I come on the board. So I'm going to be in your face. I'm going to be across the board before a third of your army is on board.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just so they really have struck a very, very good balance. And, it's funny because GW has that 55 to 45 range where they consider that to be in balance. Parabellum is looking at a 50-50 win rate is what we expect. And when we get to like 49 and 51, we understand that changes have to be made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, guys, that's going to be hard to keep up with.
But the thing is, they're so on top of it,
Yeah.
and like they work so diligently to have small rules tweaks, that are necessary to keep things where they want them. And it is such a balanced game, they want it so you have like this faction with its own identity and play style, but it comes down to being the best general you can be, right?
And there are admittedly bad matchups for certain, this versus that. But at no point do you rock up to a table and go, oh, Christ, man, it's Old Dominion with that guy as I might as well not even play.
Yeah.
Because all you need is one thing to break your way and boom, you're on your way to a big win. So there's no crushing, oh, geez, I can't play against those guys. They just win. So, yeah, I've never had that come up, and nobody I've talked to has ever been like, now that we have the Conquest nights going on, it's, there's actually quite a few players. So it's a good thing.
I can't wait till Sorcerer Kings drops and I
Oh, my God.
show up with that beautiful army.
Yep.
Yeah, it's we talked a little bit earlier. Bill said explicitly like these games are just different, right?
Yeah.
Different games for different reasons, and that's one of the things that you're going to hear us harping on a lot, moving forward, is that there's no one game that's better than
Right.
another. There's a game that you prefer over another. So we're not going to rag on GW for X, Y, and Z because it's not the same as
No.
this other game system.
No, and when you look at, you want to talk about balance across the board, you look at the LVO championships for AOS. In the top 10, there was one duplicate faction,
Amazing.
and that was Cities of Sigmar. And the two lists that were duplicated were completely different. 100% different. So it's not like, oh, look, it's just, they put a bunch of Fusiliers out and they win. No. They were night and day different lists. And the top 10 was everybody was there. Freaking Iron Jaws were there.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, we know the end is coming for this edition, but they've really hit their stride between this General's Handbook and the changes to the core rules. We're going to get into that when we get into the next section where we talk about the book. But let's wrap this segment up with kind of where we're going from here. What we got on our plate.
Yeah, so as I stated earlier, I haven't really been able to hobby at all. But one of the things I started to do was very sort of meticulously sort my stuff into bins for storage reasons. That way I don't, and this is for my own hobby ADHD, right? Where I'm not like looking around and like, oh my God, I'm going to work on that faction now. Like, no, Josh, you need to sit down and paint your Skaven.
Yeah.
You need to paint your Sorcerer Kings when they come out, right? Like I decided that with my hobby time being so limited that I need to just 100% focus it down, right? Yeah. And that is my goal this year. And like I said, Skaven Pestilence going to be my army of this year. I know I've got the Flesh Eater courts and all that, but I just really need something different.
Yeah.
And I've never painted Pestilence before.
There you go.
Of all the Skaven that I painted,
yeah,
never touched the guys.
And you have more than like 20 points of Skaven, I think.
I've got about 40, and I think I just ordered another 20 more. I have like 3 full boxes of Skaven models.
Jesus.
But that's my goal this year, is get my Skaven Pestilence going up, particularly because that's right, with the most recent update, Plague Monks are packs of 20 now.
Yes.
And I'm going to be stabbing. I'm going to be stabbing a lot of things with
stabby
rusty blades. The question I have, Bill, on the spot, do I go with more of a rusty look or do I go with a purple plague?
I'd say go with the rusty, the pestilence. You go with that rusty kind of, not nurgly, but we're from the sewers, pal.
Yeah.
That whole, it's pestilence, man. I don't know about the plaguey thing. I think that's overdone.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was thinking more sort of kind of grim darky in a way, in terms of just how I paint them. It's going to have little differentiation in colors in some aspects, particularly with like their robes, like where the hood is slightly different color, but I'm looking for like dinge on the edges of the robes so that it looks like they're just walking through
gross
muck. And then all the metals will be pretty dark and muted, heavy rust, maybe a little application of some verdigris, but just, to really just give it this grim dark look is what I thought. Because the other side of it was like the purple would be sort of more like poppy, right? Like one of those things where you look at and you're like, oh, that's fun,
Mm-hmm.
So then I just had to think for my Plague Furnace that I'm going to be putting together, what color do I make the smoke?
Oh, green. Weird stone.
Green.
Just go back more time. Go full more time.
Full
Weird
Mordheim?
Stone. Weird stone. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Because I think Mordheim's going to come out this year. So.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
God, it would.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Lord, wouldn't it?
Dude.
I know. I was looking
my God,
through...
I love Necromunda, and if Mordheim comes out just full Necromunda style, I will be sucked into that more than Necromunda.
You and me both, because Mordheim was so much fun. Love that game so much. And I would bring out my old sister's army that I painted back when I thought Tester's paints were really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, boy, that would be fun. So you put me on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, do it.
I signed up for the Kill Team tournament, or not tournament, but event coming up at the store. And so I bought my box of scouts.
Okay.
Raven Guard or Salamanders? What do you think?
God, I feel Raven Guard because I hear scouts, I hear Raven Guard, right?
I know.
And you don't see Raven Guard that much around our local scene.
Exactly.
Like, there's a few Salamanders players for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They're very popular, and I understand why. But Raven Guard, man, is just not.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm doing
done.
Yeah.
I mean, and those are your two. So, I mean, I'd say do your first one of scouts as Raven Guard.
Yeah.
And then if you have the inclination, just do another one as Salamanders.
Well, what I'm going to do is, and you made my mind up, is I'm going to do the Kill Team version, with all the different specialists, Raven Guard. And I have a box of scouts that I bought separately. Those are going to be for the Salamanders force.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. I'm done with that.
And I think what you should do too, if you want to just put a little fun narrative twist on it, right? You got to come up with a story for your
Kill Team.
Your Kill Team, right? particularly because specialist scouts in Raven Guard.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what are they about? And I feel like another fun thing here would be like working some kit bashing into it if you haven't already built them.
Not yet.
Because Raven Guard's different, right?
Slightly.
Getting different heads, make sure you've got some of that like emo hair, circa 2004. Make things kind of like more stealthy in ways, like really work that team so it's this unique Raven Guard kill team. If someone looks at it and they're like, yeah, that's what Raven Guard do.
Should look like. Yeah.
Because that's the thing with kill team, as we talked about with some of the other stuff, like with Blood Bowl, right?
Yeah.
If you can really work the customization on them right without really affecting too much of, well, that's the thing is you don't need, like, line of sight's different in kill team, right? Because of how barriers work and this, that, or the other thing.
Yep.
So I mean, I wouldn't have any guys like, doing, the Shoryuken up into the air or anything, but just modeling them slightly different.
Yeah.
It'd be super fun. And then you feel like it's your own.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great for Raven Guard people.
Yep. Okay. Let's take a quick break. Are we done with everything we wanted to hit?
Yeah, I'm going to be mostly jumping into Sorcerer Kings in After Dark, but that was going to be my Conquest army.
Yeah.
For this year.
I was going to save that too because I made some mistakes when it comes to 100 Kingdoms. That'll be, well, I can say it here. It's, they had that special deal for the new 5th anniversary starter box. Mm-hmm. So between that new box with all the mounted knights and the old box with all the two groups of infantry, I'm like, okay, sign me up. I got a chapter mage. I've got a priory commander. Yeah, 100K. I think I might do them before city states because they just, oh man, those models are so cool.
In case y'all are wondering, when Bill plays 100 Kingdoms, he is going to be in full Ren Fair get up.
Oh, I will. Yes.
Yeah. At every single game night, he's going to be there. Don't you worry about it. But we'll dive more into that after dark.
Yeah, let's take a quick break and then we'll jump into the meat of the show, the Harbingers and the forward look towards AOS 4.0.
Oh yeah.
Be right back. All right, back with the show. Back with Harbingers book 4. This one's different. You think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of didn't expect, but probably should have expected that, we're nearing the end of an edition, so they need to hit us between the T and the T with Triumph and Treachery.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Ash did a little thing, and at the beginning of his overview of the book, his comment was, well, it wouldn't be the end of an edition without Triumph and Treachery.
Yeah.
So, and the rules in this book, flat out, the rules in this book are dead ends. They're not, for going forward in AOS because, we all know this is the beginning of the end, and that's not a problem. That's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. This book brings you Triumph and Treachery, so 4-player games or multiplayer games with a great setup for they give a big glow up to the command points because that's part of what you use to make deals with other players.
Yeah.
And the way the Triumph and Treachery is set up, you're going to declare an enemy and all that stuff, and then, play through the turn and what have you. And one of the things you can do is like agree with another guy, hey, don't declare me as your enemy, and I'll give you, 2 command points and 2 victory points. Okay. Yeah. And boom. And, the rules are all in there for if you make a deal, here's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. Here's what you can do. Here's what you shouldn't do if you want to have friends. No. But there's also a 5-player version of Triumph and Treachery in this one that's set up to bring Nagash in. So if you, and they call it what do they call it? The something warlords, the War of the Mortarks. Yeah. War of the Mortarks. That's what it was. And this one's hilarious because the person that plays Nagash doesn't have an army. Nope. He's just a broker. Mm-hmm. And he's brokering all these deals. It's hilarious. You're not going to play a serious game of AOS out of this book.
No.
You're going to play super fun games.
I would say with the exception of Sekar, the new vampire lady. She's a little spicy.
The rules for the models and stuff, those are all good. I mean, it's obviously we're going to use those until the edition changes in a few months. But I mean, they're there to get you playing with the models. They're all fine.
Yep.
So Nagash has these blades in the back. At the start of the hero phase, any player can write a missive to Nagash declaring that they will make an assassination attempt. To do so, they must write down which player they are and which general is the target, and then spend 3 command points. So obviously you're getting a glow up in command points because you can afford stuff like that.
Yep.
At the end of that hero phase, Nagash reveals that an assassination attempt is taking place, tells the player which general is the target, but not who's doing it. And then you follow this process to figure out whether it's successful or not. And depending on the levels of success, you may actually be exposed as the person who did it.
Yep.
So it's really kind of the game with the Nagash player, I think, would be awesome, but you need a 5th person who is willing to not have an army in the game.
Yeah.
So more like a game mastery kind of thing. And they're kind of opening the door to that sort of mentality, is having that sort of game mastered Triumph and Treachery game, which I think could be just crazy fun.
Well, I think it's really good. I think in a narrative event, having that as something that people could play, right? That's where I think it's going to shine. I mean, because there has to be someone who's invested in the game in front of them enough to sit there and like kind of play around, right, with everyone and broker, as you say.
Or even that, if you have a store that has 2 or 3 games going on, the manager can be Nagash for 3 different games.
Oh, yeah.
Just you have to be there during that hero phase and at a couple of other points during the turn to do other things. But it's not a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really smart for proctored games. Tons of fun. And Triumph and Treachery games, by the way, are limited to 4 turns. If you have a whole bunch of power gamers, maybe don't ask them, because power game lists are going to really screw with this format.
Yep.
You need more sort of fun lists to take to really make it interesting and fun.
Agreed.
But it's going to be a crazy fun way to play. I think it'll survive between editions. I'm hoping, because it is just strange, happy, fun times. But it's obvious it's the death knell for third edition. So,
well, with Triumph and Treachery, it always, I think, is something that's there that everyone's going to want to try at least once. And I don't like saturation of Triumph and Treachery, right?
Yeah.
But if you've got a long-term narrative event, and you've got a situation in which you maybe have 8 players, or even if you're down to the last 4 players or something that hung in there, a Triumph and Treachery game could be super fun. Or if you have a certain alliance overrepresented, I've got the 4 order alliances here, so let's play a little Triumph and Treachery, right, to see who's going to kind of be pushing forward and all that. I think that's where it comes in. It can come in and is a great option for Neos to do. And so I like that they gave it a little something, with the War of the Mortarchs, just to make sure it had a little extra flavor that you might not otherwise have.
Yeah.
So that way you can bring up, in your 8-week campaign, hey, week 7, it's TNT, and it's going to be Dynamite.
Yeah, it's just going to be great fun and get everybody together for the send-off of the campaign. It's just tons of fun.
Oh, yeah.
In the Path to Glory department, again, this Path to Glory folds into the Triumph and Treachery motif in that you have to have 4 players and more death. But, it's literally just designed around a mini campaign for Triumph and Treachery games. And, it's tied to that. And so we're not going to cover it because it's not really a Path to Glory sort of format. It's dovetailed into this book pretty hard. So it's very cool. Again, it's not overthought. It's not overcomplicated. It has all the typical things. You can select the Axian Crusade, the Gyronite Crusades, all of that stuff. But this isn't something that you're going to shoehorn into your existing narrative going forward, unless you want to fall out into the Triumph and Treachery motif toward the end. They do have a little way of sort of shoehorning it into an existing Path to Glory setup. So
yeah, it's one of the things that kind of has bugged me a little bit was that the Flesh Eater Court's Path to Glory was a nothing burger. Like, yeah, cool concept, but not executed very well.
yeah.
And really with the Path to Glory is like this was such a great idea starting out to have this like these two paths you could follow in the action in your Garanite Crusade if you are Cities to Sigmar or Cities of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not Cities of Sigmar, the Path to Glory in these books means nothing to you, which is probably most players.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that there would be something different, that like each book would evolve.
Right.
Right. It's not just sort of, yeah, okay, well, we're just still going down the path and just connecting the dots until, we create the picture. Like I wanted it to be much more like build your own adventure. I know that there's a story they're trying to follow that's like, okay. One of the things that keeps coming up for me is like, why is Zenestra the model?
Yeah.
Why are her rules not as good as she is in the dang book? Because she just obliterates an entire Death army and her army for the most part.
Yeah, well.
In this book. Before where she like summoned the giant spinning wheel of light that like didn't kill Trug but stopped him.
Yeah.
She's just like, and she's like this little 9 wound thing that can like pretty much just give ward is like what she does. I mean, she's really good in the Cities of Sigmar, but I read all this stuff and I'm like, she is insane.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to like release like Zenestra like Unleashed or something that's like a new model where it's her, but she can like murder everything? I would really like to see that.
Yeah. It's such that divide, that great gap between the lore and the tabletop. And it bites not so hard in 40K, but it seems to just really crush in AOS. Mm-hmm. You have these characters that are crazy capable in the books, and you put them on the table and they are less than, they're not even impressive. That was the way Nev Blacktalon was.
Yeah.
For the longest time, just this amazing character to read about. And, I want to find a way to put her into my army because she's so cool. Oh, she's really a loser and way overcosted.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, so you costed her like she does book stuff, but on the table, she's useless. So
her new...
in the new incarnation.
Oh, yeah. She's not 100% what I want her to be, but she's at least the flavor of who she is. But I mean, also part and parcel of her, as we've seen through the series, is that she freaking dies a lot. Yeah. Like the Black Talons really, really lose to win.
Yeah. It's when you have absolutely no fear of death, you can do some of the stupidest things. And, this is again why Stormcast can be sometimes the Keystone Cops of AOS. Well, they care about dying.
Yeah.
But they don't care. It's, if by dying I get to do this thing, and it gives them that false heroism.
Yeah.
That illusion of heroism where they're willing to die for the cause today, even though the cause was stupid and it was useless.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to have a show coming up. Not the next one. The next one will probably be book 5, because that's coming up, and that will definitely give us a clear indication of where we're going with 4.0, AOS 4.0. But then we're going to have a show with what's wrong with the Mortal Realms and what, in our opinion, is what's holding it back from achieving its potential.
Yeah. It's, how do I put it?
It's an investment issue.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can be. I think that when I was first coming on the show, right, we were going through the Broken Realms, and that was so different from this because while there's these things that are important, right, in the sense that like, oh, Usharon's back, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing really realm shattering like Teclis fighting Nagash.
We're literally following a tiny crusade through a tiny portion of a mortal realm or 2 mortal realms. And gauging the success throughout the mortal realms based on what's happening here. And it leads to this weird dichotomy of, is this how things are going all through the mortal realms? Because if that's the case, that's depressing because it's not good.
No.
I mean, you know, spoiler alert, but the good guys aren't doing well. They're not awesome.
Except for Zenestra, apparently, who's exhibiting powers through her faith that feel like untold, you know, but like it's not quite Sigmar, and she's more like praising the wheel, right?
She's like got the Emperor on her side.
Yeah. And I find her character fascinating. I mean, she is psychotic.
Yes.
Like the fullest form of a zealot, which makes for interesting characters. I mean, she's more of a villainous, I think, than Death is at this point. But I really would like to see more. Oh, sorry, we're going to get into that later on. But what I'm hoping is happening right now is they're sort of like trying to tie up certain storylines so they can introduce certain characters in order to springboard into something better. And I bring that up because, Ushiran is one of those characters that everyone's wanted for so long. Yeah. Amazing model, fun story, though I don't like the retconning that he's just one of Nagash's little henchmen.
Just another errand boy.
Yeah, it's just like, he's crazy, but he's crazy for Nagash. And like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's a sellout.
It kind of is. I feel like he should just have been this complete and full primordial just force. That should have nothing to do with Nagash, you know?
And it's so crazy because during the Broken Realms, when we had the Teclis Nagash fight and Nagash got just whacked, I thought for sure they were going to just throw open the gates and allow the different death factions to come into their own and to quit being bound to Nagash and having a war scroll for Nagash in every freaking book.
Yep.
Because he's a key part and he's the key player. Instead, they've just doubled back down on that and said, nope, he's reforming, but he's still the boss.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so you've put the brakes on death again and you've made them as uninteresting as you possibly could because quite literally they all work for one guy and boring, you know, where you could have had this great across the realms freedom for the death faction to achieve and propose its own goals and its own path forward. Instead, now it's just like, oh yeah, you know, this Summer King's going to be like, oh, he's going to, you know, oh no, he's a lackey. Yeah. He's just another, you know, Neferata. He's just, you know, one of the subpar lieutenants. And yeah, you basically knock the death factions all down a peg by saying Nagash is all is Nagash.
Yeah, I mean, which is, you know, the identity for so long, but they were, you know, diversifying into different factions. And we're starting to get some really interesting stuff. And like War of the Mortarks as a Triumph and Treachery thing should have happened at the beginning of 3rd edition in the sense that Nagash just got stomped on.
Yes.
And so they are vying for that place of power.
Yeah.
And there could be some really fun stuff going on where like Catacross is just holding true to, you know, Nagash's orders, right? Because he's rank and file that way. I feel like Lady Olinder would be sort of the erstwhile one, you know. It was just kind of like, I don't know what to do, but you know, me and my banshees are going to try and get what we can. And then you have Neferata, who's got assassins going around and all that. And then you cap it with Ushiran coming in and just causing chaos.
Yeah.
Because he is driving even the other death forces mad. And he is a force. And so then it's like maybe they have to vie together or at least direct Cities of Sigmar right towards Ushiran to try and tame him so they can at the very least like enclose him, you know, so he stops causing such
untold death and destruction.
See, that would be the way to handle that story, right? And like, Nagash reforming and all that, but maybe, you know, Neferata's doing certain things to make sure that that's being slowed down and stifled, you know, and, you know, there's any number of things that they could have done to play that out to make Nagash just a background
Yeah.
character, while
A Sigmar type.
Yeah,
The problem is he's got a model, so they have to sell the model.
I understand.
So they have to have him doing something all the time. And to me, when you put your own handcuffs on, don't be mad that people aren't fully invested in these storylines because they already know how it's going to end. And, it's the story of Sanguinius. It's the story of the Siege of Terra. We know how it ends. It was fun getting there. The problem is with the Mortal Realm stuff is it's not fun getting there. We just know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And the stories aren't super engaging.
So I think how they fix that is for an edition is that, how you sell the model is that we understand that Nagash was being, repaired, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he couldn't project an avatar of himself.
Right.
Right. And so what you do is you have like some sort of rules text on there is that like, the god of death has been, defeated, but he can still project his avatar. This model gains the avatar keyword in addition to its other keywords. And it is now titled Avatar of Nagash.
Yep.
So that way it's him projecting himself into the mortal realm still, like he still has the power to do that. And it gives this sort of sense that it's a temporary thing, right?
Yeah.
It happens for this battle alone, right? And then he has to retreat back.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't be, he's a god, yes, and he's one of the major players, understood. But let's put some limits on him because he did get smacked down hard by another god.
Yeah.
Well, and his buddies, but it was a great storyline that they then just watered down and made almost meaningless.
Right.
Sad.
I feel like we look at Chaos and the way they have their greater demons, which are essentially avatars of, their gods.
Sure.
I think that would be a good idea to look at for the other gods within the mortal realms, in terms of concept,
Yeah.
I mean, what about, oh my God, what was the new Sylvaneth guy? Belthanos.
Yeah.
Like how he is sort of a representation, right, of Kurnoth.
Yep.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm not putting Kurnoth on the table.
Right.
I'm putting on the table.
I'm putting his champion on the table.
Exactly.
And, it seems to me like they're going down the same road with the crone. Is, she's like, wait a minute. I'm not sure you're totally the Avatar of Cain. You're a beefy lady, but you're not all that.
Yeah.
And she's sowing the seeds of doubt that, perhaps, just maybe, she's not everything she claims to be. And I love that because it gives Daughters of Cain a whole new way to play.
Yep.
And, she's not an auto-include anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I love where they're going with those kind of things. And I'm hoping, book 5, when it comes out, I don't know what the bombshell is going to be because they usually end on a bombshell.
Yeah.
And it's going to be either, what's her name? The zealot. I can't remember. No, I can't remember.
Sinestra.
Sinestra. Thank you. Ooh. She's either going to go nuclear and just, blow up a chunk of a mortal realm, or something else. Maybe something's going to come down and gobsmack her and start this lead into 4th edition and how we pick up the pieces from what happened from this crusade. And I just, I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with it, but I'm looking forward to it with trepidation.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how they're setting up in the old books, in the last set of books, the Broken Realms.
Mm-hmm.
There was a very definite path we were heading for. And as the different major players came in and altered chunks of that, it was just amazing. And then when you finally got to the last book and you're like, oh, it's a showdown between Teclis and Nagash. This is going to be big.
Yeah.
I don't see what the showdown here is going to be.
I mean, maybe it's going to go out with a whisper. I mean, first off, I'm just going to say, I hope GW doesn't take a religious zealot and have them blow up part of a realm. I think that might be going a little far.
It could.
But it could just be, to reintroduce the fact that like Skaven are turning up, right? Or at least they seem they're going to be the big fourth ed army, right, is that she just like gets like blasted by warp lightning cannons. It'd be hilarious.
And yeah, maybe for the first time they ruin her plans instead of Nagash's for once, It's like, oh, we were just burrowing through this and we happened to hit your, oh, sorry.
Yeah, there's just like a sniper rat with a Giselle that just headshots her, right? And you're just kind of like, oh, and sometimes that's all you need.
And, it's true. Maybe they don't go out on a big bang. Maybe they go out with a whisper and it's just like this whole thing was a futile effort and the crusade was an abject failure, and we're not going to establish order anywhere. We're not going to establish foothold in the realms, and it's a losing. It's grimdark. It's a slow attrition loss of everything we hold dear until maybe in the middle of 4th edition they have a who knows, maybe they're planning to bring out a Sigmar. Or an avatar of Sigmar, or, maybe they're going to do some major change. I doubt, it's from a going forward stance. You don't want to answer any questions because that's just dumb. It closes doors that you don't want to have closed. But, there's all kinds of opportunities. Maybe if you don't end on a big blast.
Yeah.
I still feel like the way Ariel is Alariel is Princess Ariel. And then Space Ghost came too. Thunder. Okay. Anyway, Alariel is being woven into all these different, very much on the periphery. She started this whole thing way back in the beginnings of the books. And she started the Kragnos thing, completely by mistake. Whoopsie, I'm a god, but I'm not, top tier kind of god.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Lariel.
Right.
But, I still think I'm going to use a Gollum reference here, but I think she has a part to play in all of this, for good or ill. Wow. Are we throwing back the Lord of the Rings or what?
Oh my God.
But I think she has a part to play. I think she's going to do something. And I think it might, who knows? The spell that she was doing to repair the realm, maybe that is what's going to go wrong and just have Skaven bubbling up out of every hole, in every city. And, maybe this is a stretch, but maybe that gives us the setting for the Hammerhall Akshi version of Mordheim.
Potentially. I mean, maybe that's the way they move in with it, right?
You could be setting up two things at once here. You're setting up 4th edition and you're setting up another box game.
Yeah. God, I mean, I would love Mordheim to get the Necromunda glow up that we've had, man. I mean, that would just change everything. How many that would sell so well. It's the same thing with the old world, right? Because like Mordheim is almost synonymous with it in a way. Like it's always talked about in the same circles.
Yes.
So they saw what happened with Old World.
Yeah.
Like you launch Mordheim, it's going to be on par with Necromunda in terms of success, right?
If you back it, they will come. And if you give us a really great, and the thing that holds me back is they have so many AOS offshoot skirmish games. You have your Warcry already. Maybe they think there's no space left in that pocketbook for another, but I'll tell you what, I'll carry it for you. just give me a Mordheim. Give me something like Mordheim, where Warcry does not scratch the itch that Mordheim used to. It's not granular enough. It doesn't provide for that individualistic growth. And, oh, my sister just bought a new whip and now she's up 1 in her weapon skill.
Yeah.
She is now a force to be reckoned with, pal. And, just those little things were huge back then in the Mordheim days. And, just getting a new sword for one of your characters was momentous. And it kind of sort of changed the way you played going forward. And give us a game like that. And this, I'm going to stick by it and say they might be trying to kill 2, 3, 4 birds with one stone. And we're looking at these, end times books, these end of the edition books in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
They're setting up an even bigger story than we're thinking of, and we're expecting it to be, what's going to happen with this crusade, damn it? And they're more along, what's going to happen with the Mortal Realms?
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I don't know.
We have some ideas for what could happen to the Mortal Realms to really not just necessarily progress the story, but develop story arcs and characters that you care about.
Yeah.
But that's for a different show.
That's a couple shows from now, but that's gonna be big. We had dinner over that one, and we pretty much patted ourselves on the back for fixing the Mortal Realms.
You heard it here, folks.
That's
We
right.
fixed it. And so
We did.
GW, if you want to give us a call ahead of that episode.
Yeah, if you want to be in the know,
Yeah.
let us know. So.
So as far as it goes, Pat the Glory kind of petering out at the end was not my favorite.
No.
Maybe Triumph and Treachery, cool, but it's always Triumph and Treachery.
And it's, it's a super cool way to play, but it's also very, very niche. Even in niche AOS, it's niche within that realm. But still, it's a great set of rules. Really well thought out, really well done to where the Triumph and Treachery rules don't get in the way of a good game, a fun game. They just sort of enhance the whole thing. And the War of the Martarks just adds the cherry on top.
Yeah. Though, be careful who you play Triumph and Treachery with.
Oh,
'Cause,
yeah.
If you have one of those like power gamers, I'll let you know there are no rules that I saw that tell you how to physically accost your opponent. So
Yes.
it's probably not recommended.
No.
Those games can be incredibly frustrating if you've got a jerk on the other side.
Yeah.
All right, one of the corners. Whatever it is, how many you're playing.
It can be really unfun. I think to me, it's going to be best played with like 1,000-point armies so that you have 2,000 points on the table and an agreement beforehand that you're not taking the, quote unquote meta list.
Yeah.
You're going to take a fun list that is, strong and powerful, but you're not there to just beat face and notch up another win.
Yeah, just because you can fit Marathi into 1,000 points doesn't
Sure.
mean you should be allowed to. And it just feels bad, but God knows what the Crone's going to do to flip that on its head. And,
My God. Oh,
if you were the one guy who saved up your Doomfire Warlocks because you thought, man, one day I hope these are
one
good.
day these are going to be good.
Well,
That day's coming.
the day's coming, and it's probably coming next Saturday.
No, I ordered the book yesterday, so it won't be here for 2 weeks.
Oh, it's a 2-week on this one.
Yeah, it's the next Saturday.
Okay.
So, yeah, the next time we record, we'll have the book in our hands for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I can't wait because honestly, just that daughter's, the ability to, like I said, she's a ton of fun, but she's also predictable, and I want to see something different in Daughters of Cain. I want to see something more, expansive, something that isn't just, this is the list you take to win with Daughters. And I want more options. And, like I said, between the Sylvaneth and now the Daughters getting these new major leaders that can replace the key figureheads for the faction.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That, if that is where we're going with fourth, just sign me up. I am on the train all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a star. Yeah. Give me a Stormcast that doesn't leave me wanting.
Yeah.
And I'll be all over that Stormcast army, because right now the characters in Stormcast armies are about as engaging as mud. They are lacking personality, flavor, distinction. They're just blah.
Yeah, I mean, your big characters there. You have Vandus Hammerhand. What does he do? Runs away from Kargus Call. Okay. What does Estrella Soulbright do? Well, now we know. She chases after Usharon and then loses to him.
And loses.
Yeah,
hard.
and then you have Gardas, who just shows up to lose to whatever is there.
Whatever Nurgle thing happens to pop.
Yeah. Or most recently, a giant.
Yeah.
He just hero leaps and gets killed instantly. So,
But that was a cool scene. I gotta say, that was cool.
Reminds me of freaking Rain of Fire when Matthew McConaughey jumps off the smokestack with the axe and just dies.
Okay. Well,
Like, you know, for that one moment when it's happening, you're like, oh my God, he's going to do it.
yeah, no.
No.
No, 32 tons is 32 tons, okay? You lose. One man, one axe versus dragon. You lose.
Yeah. It'd be cool if he did win, but it had to be Christian Bale.
Yeah.
But who would have thought shooting explosive into a dragon's neck would still be effective? Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's a good thought.
Yeah. So even though we're going to be touching, 2 books, our first 2 times back,
Yeah.
it's going to be much more freeform as you saw the format today.
Yeah.
So certainly kind of hang tight with us as we sort of sort it out.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some, I call them like big brain topics,
Yeah.
because we're so smart, that are going to be coming up that are more larger in scope than just here's this one product that we're going to sit here and analyze.
Yeah. We're not going to be doing any more of that reading from the book. These are the veteran abilities for... No, that's boring.
But now for the news at 11, Bill. No, I'm joking.
Oh, my God. I forgot about the News at 11. Wow. See? We're making headway here.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're just going to kind of, if you have ideas for a big brain topic that you'd like to hear us expound on, please, feel free. Shoot it out to us. Let us know in the show notes.
Yep.
Or in the comments or an email or whatever it is.
If you can access Bill's show notes.
Yeah, there's an issue here.
Yeah, there's an issue.
Yeah, I still cannot get connected to my own Discord. So,
but that's your Discord.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. However, it's connected to an email that no longer exists. And no matter what you do, I have talked to them on the phone directly, human to human, and said that email no longer exists. It doesn't even bounce back. It simply goes into the void. Can you please change the email on this account? Oh, yeah, we'll go ahead and change. Yeah, we'll change your username right now. I'm like, no, not my username. Change the email associated with the account. Oh, we can't do that. We have to verify by sending you an email. I'm like, what part of it doesn't exist? Do you not understand? When I talk to EA Sports, the EA place, I understand that they can't figure anything out. They are far too stupid to get this.
Yeah.
But, your Discord, you're supposed to be a little better at this. Nope, they don't get it. I was able to change my Facebook email. I mean, literally half a dozen clicks, done. Verify it on either one of the accounts. Okay, we're good to go. And it was just like, why Discord cannot do that is beyond me. I can do it by just canceling everything, turning everything off, deleting all my accounts. And I'm like, well, then I would lose my server that, I happen to have. Oh, well, we can archive it and then bring it back, but you'd still have to have that old email. You're not bright, are you? Okay.
What are you gonna do?
Not much. But anyway, let Josh know because, he at least can get to the Discord and the other social media things.
Yeah, sorry, I've been very lax on that, folks, but we're coming back. Hopefully I have enough time to manage it again.
Yay.
When I'm not like working my freaking self to death.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our first go at the new format, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Feedback welcome. Let us know if you are in Bill's show notes.
Hit that like and subscribe.
Yeah. Go in and edit, some of the things that we write in there because we are not the best writers.
Yeah.
We would appreciate if, we could fix all the misspellings, Yeah, I misspelled the number 4, man. It was crazy.
Whoops.
But yeah, so the thing is, one thing that is going to be maintaining, we are still going to have After Dark, as we've been sort of alluding at throughout this, where we can talk with colorful language that's inappropriate for certain listeners.
The under 14 crowd.
Yeah. And so that's where you're going to find us next. But hold on. Keeping up with our intro. The journey doesn't end here. Well, the end of the podcast is another path, one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world will roll back and all turns to silver glass, and then you'll hear it. Rolling Bad, After Dark.
The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast itself is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.